What happens when Darth Maul, one of the most feared Sith in the galaxy, isn't just hunted, but broken? Episodes 7 and 8 of Maul Shadow Lord don't just give us action, they tear Maul apart physically, mentally, and emotionally, and then ask, what's left when revenge is all you have? Welcome to Your In Depth, where we walk through and break down our favorite fictional universes. I am Jacob, and I'm here joined by Evan.
What up?
As I said there, we are going to be covering episodes 7 and 8 of Maul Shadow Lord. So, real quick, we're going to do a summary. Just that kind of gave a brief kind of teaser almost, but here's a just 2 to 3 line summary of these episodes. So Maul is pushed to his limits as the Empire and Inquisitors hunt him down, leaving him physically broken and nearly defeated. As his allies fight to regroup, he spirals into visions of his past, confronting the trauma and betrayal that shaped him. By the end, Maul reclaims his purpose setting. What am I freaking right? Maul reclaims his purpose, setting his sights once again on revenge against Sidious and the Empire. So, there's where we're coming from. Very quick ad break, Evan. This episode is sponsored by Inquisitor Search Services. Do you need to track down a rogue Sith Lord? A missing Jedi? A former apprentice with anger issues? Well, our highly trained Inquisitors will find them. Eventually. Inquisitor Search Services. We may lose the fight, but we'll definitely show up. Anyway.
Well, hey, we said we'd find them, not that we'd capture and or kill them, okay?
Exactly.
We said we'd find them.
To kind of kick us off, Evan, what was your high... Well, first off, what is your high point of these episodes?
I think there was quite a few different high points, or higher points, better points than other points. Points all around, one might say. But I feel like I really enjoyed, and I really thought it was almost perfectly done, giving us the insights into Maul's mind as he is remembering, as you kind of said in the intro, all the trauma and stuff that he went through that led him to where he is now. And you can see him. I got the impression that it kind of took him back to those moments that he went through. There was one example of where he had just gotten taken by Sidious and he didn't swing his lightsaber hard enough, so Sidious gives him the old zap, or seeing Savage oppress his death once again. I just thought that was really well done and just showing the trauma that this character has gone through, which I feel like was long overdue for Maul. Getting some insight into his childhood a little bit. Again, we didn't get very much, but we got a little bit. We got a little bit more of what he's gone through and what he's had to deal with, and then reminders of what we saw in Clone Wars, and even a little bit of a reminder of Phantom Menace.
Yeah,
but I just thought that whole thing was very well done. I thought that was just brilliant.
See, I kind of don't know how I feel about that part.
Oh boy.
It's nice to see more of a backstory to a really good character and stuff. But honestly, I was so this isn't my low, but it's a questionable maybe low. And I think that's where it's going to take the place of my answer. And I'll explain a little bit.
Okay.
But firstly, the highlight is, I think the whole bridge scene, just the battle that erupted.
That was really cool. I really enjoyed
super
that
cool.
too. Yeah.
And then the Inquisitors versus Maul. Just you got 3 double-bladed red lightsabers swinging at each other. It was pretty cool. So visually, just stunning to watch. I liked it.
Well, and I like too that they in the Maul versus the Inquisitors scene, we saw the repercussions of the damage to his leg that Daki caused. Right? Because it was like in previous episodes, Daki hits his leg in the knee and causes some damage. We see a little bit of like quick repairs get done, but that sucker ain't fixed yet.
Nope. And if you remember in Rebels, he ends up having basically a cane as he's going through the desert. Yeah. So I don't think this is something that's going to get fixed.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that. I wonder if this is kind of like the quote-unquote origin stories of needing the cane type of thing.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
What is your low point of these episodes?
Truthfully, the low point is tough for me because I thought all of it was just really well done. Even the scenes with, I swear to God, I'm going to break this fucking computer.
You freaking freeze.
Yeah, I did freeze. I'm back now. Can you hear me?
Hi.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
I can.
I saw it do the little buffer thing, and I was like, I'm going to break this damn computer. Ugh.
Yeah.
I need to get this sucker hardlined, but I don't want to run cable and have it look like crap. So
I got to figure out when I would be able to visit you next, but I will more than happily help you run wire.
No, my low point though, I was saying even the scenes with the little small dude, the little crime boss dude, like even the scenes where he was in those, and those tend to be my low points in this show. But even those I thought were well done. You know, so like I wasn't even disappointed in seeing him pop up here and there. Mm-hmm. And the one that comes to mind is when the ship is leaving and he gets left behind because he tries to get on. Like, even that, I thought that was funny. That wasn't even a low for me. That was just hilarious.
Yeah.
This is one. I don't think I have a low point that I could just distinguish in this episode, at least not one that comes to mind.
Yeah. And realistically, okay, so since you're saying I don't have a low, I'm going to say I don't truly have a low. But the part that I'm questioning about what you said was your high was kind of this shift in reasoning. I don't know if it's contradictory to his character or if it's just how he's developed. But every instance of Maul, he's composed but driven by rage and revenge. Mm-hmm. And in this, it kind of seemed to pivot it a little bit from seeking revenge based on what Sidious did to him, which we perfectly saw. Mm-hmm. The trauma and the just PTSD that he's gotten from this. But it's transitioned into, I'm going to make sure that he doesn't do this to anyone else. And I don't know how I feel about that. Because, like, again, I'm not saying I dislike that approach, but I don't know how I feel about it because it's not so much like I am seeking revenge for what you have done to me. It's kind of changing it a little bit to like this more trying to help others in a way thing. And that doesn't seem very characteristic of Maul. But in the same way, he's the main character of this. So you kind of have to start building some degree of like decent qualities with him. Other than he's just a really cool and smart villain. Because in the end, he's a villain.
Right.
He's an anti-hero in this. I mean,
I don't necessarily think that they are changing his reasons for revenge. I feel like they're adding on to. Because he still
then
wants
what's
revenge
his
for what was
true-
done to him, right? He
Yeah.
still wants that revenge. But he's also in a very vulnerable state in those scenes. Like, he is wounded, his leg is damaged. He has always been a not mentally sound character,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I mean that's just kind of like a commonality, I feel like, amongst just about every Sith/evil Force user we see in Star Wars. They've all got some sort of mental problem going on.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, in this moment where he's so vulnerable and he's already not mentally sound, and he's kind of seeing these flashbacks to stuff that's happened to him, to those, the very few that he actually cares about, aka Savage, right? And what has been taken from him and the damage done to, I'm going to say, arguably the only other person he has actually cared about. It's because I would argue that either Savage would have told Maul when he was still alive what he went through at the hands of Dooku to be quote unquote trained, right? Or Maul would assume that Savage had a similar upbringing once he got taken in as Maul did, and that being a lot of force lightning when you do stuff bad. So, and Maul had, so I don't know if Maul knew about Dooku, and Dooku being the one behind what happened to Savage. I don't remember if that's mentioned in the Clone Wars or not. We're kind of getting to that Savage and Maul section of the Clone Wars in that coverage, but we haven't kind of gotten all the way through that yet, obviously. So I just don't remember if Maul is made aware of Dooku being the one to start Savage's training. So, I mean, I could see it where Maul is like, well, Sidious did this to me. When I met Savage, or when I re-linked up with Savage, when he found me and, quote-unquote fixed me, to a degree fixed me, I don't know if there's an assumption of, like, he learned some of his stuff from Sidious, or maybe he learned some of his stuff from someone else. Maybe it was the Night Sisters, but he's probably had this rough upbringing that I am going to correlate in some way to Sidious. I want revenge for me. My brother is dead. I want revenge for my brother. And with that, this might be a moment where his mind shifts a little bit, and maybe we do get that one itsy bitsy tiny little candle in the darkness of, like, I'm going to make sure Sidious can't do this to anybody else either. The rest of me is all evil, but this one, I'm going to have this one little candle in the darkness. This one little ray of light. And so I think it's both. Long story short, I think it's both.
A lot of yapping just to say both.
Yeah. But the reasonings behind why I think it's both
Gotcha.
is all of that. I guess time will tell. We still have more of the show to watch, and we already have, again, as we've said, season 2 confirmed, that I'm sure could expand on this so much more and give us more insight. But as things stand with just this one instance of, his a look into his inner mind, that's kind of where I stand on it. And because of that, that's what made it like my high point of the episodes.
I mean, I thought that it was well done and stuff. I'm not saying that it wasn't. The final implication. Yeah. I'm slurring my words together. Or
Jacob
more so mispronouncing.
Drunk.
It doesn't matter. I know you're but I guess the implication of it is what I was more so unsure on. But the way it was done was pretty neat. It did. I don't know if you picked up on this. It didn't. This is another thing where I was talking, or I was watching Star Wars Theory, and I'm just like, dude, shut up. Because, like, one of the things is that in, I forget the name of the novel, but it was the origin of Darth Maul, and he was taken as a baby. And Star Wars Theory was like talking about how that it's like this is a change from that, it's whatever, and they're like, so it's not accounting for that, and he's like talking like it's this major retcon, but that was already Legends. That's not
right.
And so it wasn't like it's different than what maybe you've kind of suspected or come to know about it, but it is, I mean, so this is different than what was kind of pre-established, whether, well, it's not canon. I don't know when it was actually put into Legends, but
I would assume when Disney did the whole everything but the movies is going to get thrown into Legends, and then we'll decide what we want to bring back thing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that is something that I see a lot, whether it's talking to friends or family about Star Wars or watching any sort of coverage of Star Wars on YouTube or TikTok shorts, or TikTok or Facebook shorts, whatever. So many people blur the lines between Legends and canon.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be hard because, books that are coming out now for Star Wars, unless Disney goes and says those books are just all Legends, unless we approve it, the new books coming out would then be considered canon. But everything before Disney took over is all Legends now. And so I see like a lot of people bring up Mara Jade from Legends and be like, when are we going to see that come into canon? And some people argue that is still canon, and it's like, under George Lucas, it was canon at the time, but once the rights got sold and Disney said otherwise, whether you like it or not, that stuff's not canon anymore. And it's like, you can love it, you can hate it, it doesn't matter. That stuff is Legends. It can be canon in your mind. It can be head canon, but it's not actual canon.
Yeah. But that kind of spawns a question for me, for you here. So with it though, obviously this is I wouldn't say a retcon, because like it's something that was previously established as Legends under that, like you said, whether you like it or not. I didn't get too big into the novels, so I didn't really see that as like a part of the story already because I hadn't experienced that. However, with this, there's obviously that change. He is no longer taken as a baby. He was taken as a child, which also was it already established that Maul and Savage were like legit brothers?
Yeah.
Okay. I was thinking it was, but I couldn't
that was...
tell because then Savage had the other sibling. So was that, or are they all just like freaking family?
So, I mean,
that was something I was trying to sort out.
This is how I view it, because I don't know if we actually have a confirmed like biological brother type of thing. But the Zabraks that we see in Clone Wars very much resemble kind of like a Native American tribe type of society, where it's like you have your mom, but then you have your quote-unquote uncles, the male figures in the tribe. You might not have one person that you're like, that's my dad. So I imagine...
Kind of raised by the village in a way.
Yeah, I imagine it's like a raised by the village, and those of the same age or close to the same age would consider each other brothers. But then anyone that would be significant, I would guess probably like 10, 15-ish years or older would be like a uncle or quote fatherly-esque figure. Any that would be, 5, 10 years younger, 10, 15 years younger would be cousin or like a nephew type thing, because they would then be the quote-unquote uncles of the next generation. That's how it came across to me.
I don't know if I agree with that, but I don't know. I'm not going to spend a ton of time thinking about it. I can see kind of what you're saying.
That's how I always viewed it. But then I would say like the two Zabraks we see in Maul, they very much, again, they could fall into this same line of maybe it's like a tribal type race thing, so they view each other as brothers but not being biological, or they are just legit biological brothers. You know, I don't know if we actually have any confirmation like how it's actually done.
Well,
I'm going to do a quick search just to see what it says.
Okay.
I'm going to do Wikipedia and just see what it's got listed. So, according to Wikipedia, Maul, Savage, and Farrell being the brother we see in Clone Wars when they're going through the whole selection thing with Savage Press, all three of them are direct children of Mother Talzin, and all three of them are actually biological brothers.
Okay.
Is what I'm seeing here on Wikipedia. So with that, I would say it's not the tribal thing.
Yeah, say you were wrong. Say you were wrong.
You just want to hear me say it, don't you?
Say what?
And I will say I did preface that I think this is how it is, and that's how it came across to me. I didn't say that is how it is. I didn't say that was for sure how it works.
But also, was your assessment and what you were thinking correct?
No, it was not correct, Jacob, and I am actually thankful that I found the correct answer, so that way I am no longer wrong in the future.
Thank you to Wikipedia for educating me.
Through Evan, because Evan found it for you.
Yeah, that's fair. Thank you for doing the work to prove yourself wrong. Anyway, all of this leads to my question, which this change is kind of makes it a little more like Anakin in a way. Does this, do you think, improve Maul's character depth or weaken established quote unquote lore? I'll say quote unquote because, you know.
Yeah, it's not canon lore, it's Legends lore.
Right. So what do you think this adds to it, this change? No, I'll let you answer first. Sorry.
I mean, I think it does both, but I think the Legends lore is not important. Quite frankly. Like that's just my personal opinion. I don't find the Legends lore important anymore because it's Legends. It's not the actual events as they unfold. So like it does weaken Legends, but Legends is already weakened by being Legends. You know, that just makes it weak on its own. Because it doesn't have anything that it's anchored to like, you know, give it the legs to stand on other than it has the title Star Wars on it.
Right.
You know, but at the same time, I do think it adds to Maul's character because we do have this tragic event. Like Maul now has... I mean, I feel like it was assumed that he had a tragic backstory already, right? Because he was taken and he became a Sith, and I feel like almost all Sith have some sort of tragic backstory. So the assumption was there, but this just kind of like solidifies the tragic backstory, and that just strengthens the character as a whole. And in my opinion, it leads to new depths of the character because that can be expanded on now. I don't think we will get anything on it, but there is the option to now give us like the proper apprentice Maul under Darth Sidious and his coming up and being trained. We could get like information on that now because this has been established and we have a starting point to jump off from. If they chose to go that way, but I really don't think they will. They might give us snidbits like they did in these two episodes, but that's all I would really expect to come from it.
I don't know, dude. They're coming out with all sorts of shows where it's like young this, young that. I saw one recently that was like, I don't think it was young Washington, but it was something like that where I'm like, why? Like, why is this a thing? Anyway, so yeah, maybe we'll get a young Maul.
Yeah.
I don't want it, but maybe we'll get it. Anyway, no, I would answer this question as I feel like the difference between him being taken as a baby and a child, um, I don't see it as doing anything different. I think in the end, we see more of what his apprenticehood looked like, apprenticeship, apprentice, whatever,
Yeah.
under Sidious, and I think that gives enough of the impact of it to show the trauma that
Yeah.
has gone into his character.
I can see what
And
you're
then
saying.
all of that on top of the betrayal,
Right.
you can see a lot of where he's coming from. But I just
I
don't think
think
that the distinction between him being taken as a baby and taken as a child matters all that much. Like that change.
I think the biggest important thing of that, though, is with the distinction of baby and child. I feel like there is one big important thing in there, though, and that is that Maul and Savage did know each other and had some sort of brotherly relationship before Maul was taken.
Yeah.
Other than that, I don't think
adds
the
a bit
distinction
there, yeah.
itself is too important.
Yeah.
I think knowing that he was taken as a child, if they wanted to expand on his training, that gives them a starting point to leap off from, right? Like, I think that potentially could be important if they want to show more of his training. But
yeah,
if they don't,
also
it's
just
not
because
too much important. But yeah, the relationship between Maul and Savage, I think, establishing that was there originally, I think is important.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that is important. I didn't really think about that when I was saying it. I think every other aspect of it probably is not very important. But speaking of, you were saying the distinction between child and baby. I do want to emphasize something to you. You do know the difference between child and adult, right?
Yes, I do, Jacob. Thank you very much.
I just want to be sure that you were up to. Yeah, I just know. I know
it's
you
13.
Have your own God, Evan. Man, I'm just hinting at calling you a predator. You're just outright giving me information that I'm not comfortable with having. Is your weird little comments where it's like, oh man, is there validity to this?
Jacob's just like, man, I really hope the cops don't come knocking on my door one day asking if I know anything about potential alleged activity.
Yeah, because then why are you okay with continuing joking about this? That's my...
Because I have the darkest of senses of humor, and I find it funny.
Okay, fair. So, tying into that a little bit. No, actually, we kind of already talked about that. What's one of your questions?
Oh, man. So many. I'm trying to think how to phrase this as a question. Because one spot that my mind goes to in this episode constantly since I watched it was the betrayal of like the 3 or 4 Mandalorians who attempted to abandon Maul and their fellow Mandalorians.
Yeah, it really worked out for them.
Yeah, instantly got blown out of the sky trying to get away. My mind just keeps going to that scene, and because we've seen in like hints at more Mandalorians than kind of like the 3 that we've been seeing for the most part in the show, right? And this episode, like, it showed us there's more than just like 3 or 4 of them. Like, he's got a good dozen, Mandalorians here with him. Do you think we will see more instances of his followers abandoning him Do you think the ones that are still around are going to stay loyal?
I think it depends on what they're there for. These were literally mercenaries,
Right.
and he told them to leave behind the money.
Yeah, probably not.
So that alone, obviously, just because of why they're there, that kind of, I mean, that, Now the others, I haven't really seen too much reason for them to doubt him so far, but we also haven't, I don't think, seen a ton into what their motivations for being there with him are. With
the
Rook,
only one
I'm not
I was gonna
super
say,
sure. She hasn't really seemed to question him too much. Well,
No,
she's questioned him a little bit, but not in a sense of like sincere, like questioning her loyalties kind of thing.
Right.
Just more so like, okay, is this smart kind of thing?
Yeah, she very much comes across as the loyal follower. Like the royal first hand, like right hand person. Where, like you said, she very much comes across of like, I am fully in support of you. I am going to follow you, but is this the best path for us to go down? Like, she very much comes across as like, I'll go down the path that you choose, but is this the path we want to go down? If you say it is, I'm with you, man. But like, do we want to go down that one over there maybe instead? Like, what are your thoughts? Type of deal. Whereas, yeah, like the rest of them, I wonder if the troublemakers have been now dealt with, with getting taken out, or if there's still more of them in the ranks.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
we'll see.
And Rook even makes a comment in the episode. Oh my god, this freaking internet! This internet's driving me crazy.
Yeah, well, get better.
I wish.
No, it's not actually. From what I'm hearing and what's freezing up, I'm able to hear you a good amount still.
Okay.
So like, it's not super disrupting, but obviously what you see and stuff, I don't know. But
no. Rook makes a comment when she's walking with Maul, and she says something along the lines of like, these are mercenaries, and they want their money, and they stick around as long as they're getting their money, and we're kind of not getting any money right now. So like, it's kind of like they'll stick around so long as we're prosperous, so long as we're getting what, they're getting what they want, but they're not getting that right now, was kind of the implication she gave.
Right.
And so I can't remember the specific order of events, if that was before or after the three of them got shot down. I don't remember if that was, as I said, before or after, but
I think it was before, because then they were talking about them, and then it was like, finally, that was directly preceding them being like, all right, we're out of here and we're stealing the ship.
But with that because that little interaction between Rook and Maul, that's what has me wondering if it's just those three that were the problem, or if more are going to kind of speak up and, say something about it. If Maul continues down this path where he can't keep paying them, or does pay them and makes them leave it behind, or, all of that.
Yeah.
Because it's like, we do know roughly where Maul goes from here. Like, you have like the Solo movie where Maul is in charge of Crimson Dawn, and he is the leader of a criminal organization. And so it's like, were those three the problem and now the problem's gone, so it's just up from here? Or is it like some more roller coaster ups and downs that we're going to see before he becomes leader? And I'm really curious to see how that unfolds.
Yeah, me too. One little side note that I want to point out to you that I didn't quite know how to work into the intro. This is our 101st episode.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yep. Don't you just love going back and listening to episode 1 through 70?
Oh, goodness.
I will say, as I've continued to create things in video form and audio form, I do feel like a true sign of growth, and that's not even audience growth. I just mean growth as something from a what you're creating level, that
Yeah.
you're creating something at least a little bit better, is the inability to not cringe when you see older stuff of yours. I look at old
Yeah.
videos and I hear old episodes and I hate it. But it's also cool to see just the difference
Where we
in where
were
we come.
and where we were then
Right.
to
And
where
I'm
we
not
are
saying
now.
that,
And
yeah, oddly enough, I think we had more followers back then. But that's because we used to share it with all of our friends.
yeah.
But anyway,
And I mean, I
yeah,
will say
episode
too,
101. 101 episodes of
with
this.
that as well, Jacob and I have talked about possibly one day going back and recovering, say, the movies at the very least.
Yeah, just because we've changed up our format a good amount
Yeah.
and we've changed how we kind of look at things regarding this. And again, it's not like it's paying off. Our audience is not there, or it's not. Maybe it's growing a little bit, but it's not
All
like
maybe
it's not like
two
we're
of you
like,
that keep listening to 4 minutes of the
yeah,
episodes.
yeah, and we're not saying we've figured it out, and so we need to do those other ones right.
Right.
We're just saying from a standpoint of what we feel is something we're happy with that we've created.
Yeah.
I think is maybe I'm speaking just for me. Do you feel the same there?
Yeah. That I mean, I have a extra thing of like maybe if the earlier stuff wasn't as bad as it is, it might help. But build a little bit more of an audience. But it is definitely from like just to have everything kind of concise and in the same format and kind of at the quality that we're at now and not so much where we were. Just kind of like bring that up to date, I guess.
Here's a question for you. What do you remember of the early episodes?
I remember a lot of you going through the events of a movie or episode and me going, well, wait a second, I wanted to say something about that little event right there. And then you giving like an exaggerated reaction. Just over and over again.
What about the setting and like what we were? Because when I'm thinking about this, thinking of like episode, I remember sitting in your apartment out there with a microphone and just kind of going on about it. And then we ended up deciding those episodes we're not going to do anything with.
Yeah.
Let's rework it. Let's walk through the episode and let's try to break it down. And then I remember sitting in my parents' basement with
this mic.
with this Blue Yeti microphone.
Yep.
Talking about Star Wars. And
I remember sitting in my mom's basement with the what I called the blue snowball.
yeah, that's not what you called it.
I'm going with blue snowball.
Okay.
The first mic I ever got in terms of like a proper recording mic that Jacob gifted to me on a couple different occasions.
Yeah, we used that. You used that.
Yeah. And then just kind of the process of going through different mics and upgrading slowly but surely. And I feel like I've got a pretty decent one now that I've had for a while.
I think you do.
But yeah.
It's fun to think back, but also like it is at a level where if we revisit old episodes, it's kind of like I don't like how we did stuff. And especially if you're thinking of it from a standpoint of trying to be interesting.
Yeah.
First off, I don't think we're not that, but we weren't for sure. I think like if you even think of like going into like focusing in on analytics from a freaking retention standpoint, it's like you go back and it's just like, God, I'm disinterested in the first 5 minutes, and I was there. Actually, 5 seconds for that matter.
Yeah.
But like I said, if you don't cringe at what you've done before, you're not showing any sign of growth. But there is also a
Right.
level of that where eventually you're very confident in what you're making. So you probably wouldn't, it would technically be passed, but you've been doing it right for a while. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's a degree of it though.
But yeah.
Anyway, I wanted to point that out because it was like, holy cow, we've done 100 episodes of this.
I think that whole little bit where we talked right there could just be a kind of an extended shorts of just like talking about what we used to do.
Maybe. I don't know what we'll do with it. We should probably get back into talking about Maul though.
Well, there was one thing I did want to mention with talking about like revisiting what we've already covered and kind of bringing it up to date. I think that would be very interesting, specifically with like redoing the Phantom Menace. Now that we have, like, if we went back and redid Phantom Menace, we will have covered all of Clone Wars at that point, as well as all of Maul Shadow Lords, and probably even all of Rebels. And we would have like the beginning, the introduction of Maul, all the way to the ending of Maul. And so it's like when we talked about his character, we could reference things and have more information about him to go off of. And, you know, I feel like we could get extra. I shouldn't say extra. I feel like we would have more interesting things to say about a character like Maul now compared to when we talked about him all the way back then.
That's true. Yeah.
But that's where originally I was going to go with that, but we got a little sidetracked, but that's okay.
So, I guess realistically, I only have one other question. I'm looking through them, and I think in some way or another, it's like I think that would result in the same answer as something we've already said. It's not the same question by any means, but I think it would end up, you know. So, what I want to talk about is more so predictions. Obviously, at the end of this, little blue dude, I forget his name, mentions, what was it, Dryden Voss? Which is the Crimson Dawn connection. And so with that comes in Kira, you've got Vader, and where do you think that the finale, because this next episode is going to be the finale.
Right.
Well, not the next episode, but the next batch of episodes.
Right.
Where do you think it's going to go in relation to this? Because this is something that you would almost anticipate from the finale, like them mentioning.
Right.
I feel like, at least.
So I say this because Lucasfilms released a little teaser to the next 2 episodes that are coming out. And I don't know if it's going to be, it's a teaser from episode 9 or episode 10.
I didn't see that.
I don't know which one of those 2 episodes this little snippet of maybe a minute, if that, of footage is from. But it shows Maul and his peeps, you know, Maul and his Mandalorians, fighting alongside Daki, Devin, and Lawson, and his son, as they're assaulting some sort of Imperial strongpoint. Now, I have to go back and double check, but I don't know if it was the police station or where it was specifically, if it was a place we'd seen before throughout this season or not. But it showed all of them fighting together against the Empire. And so with that in mind, as well as the reference to Crimson Dawn, and what we saw in this episode, I'm kind of anticipating one of two things. Number one is they beat the Empire here on the planet, and they get the Empire off the planet. In the short term, because the Empire is probably going to come back.
Well, yeah.
Or number two, which I think is the most likely, they're all going to be fighting together in this way to secure transport off planet and leave the planet itself.
Yeah.
Now, with that, I am anticipating a Master Daki death. I feel like that has to happen. I feel like that's been hinted at quite a few different times throughout this season.
Yeah, more than likely.
And I'm wondering...
I do think he's going to die.
I'm wondering if we will see either a Lawson or his son's death.
Ooh, that would be a weird
one
twist,
of those
having
two.
his son be the one who dies.
Yeah. Because usually you see like the father death, which propels the son to either join a rebellion or do this great thing, like the whole hero's journey thing. But it would be very much a twist to see the father survive.
And do the same thing, but like just the fact of it being different. I did think it was interesting in this how quickly Lawson was like willing to give himself up, which obviously, I mean, it's for his son. Yes, obviously he's going to do that. But like it was just a very almost stereotypical. I feel like this show really has been like having stereotypical moments broken to do something different. So many instances I'm like, Daki's dead, and then he doesn't die.
Right.
Other instances like this where it's like, okay, yeah, he's going to trade himself, and then they're going to have to either leave him behind, break him out. I don't know.
You were anticipating an actual trade between Lawson and his son.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't think it was going to go well. I thought he might die during it because like the Empire's not going to frickin' listen.
Right.
They'd pull just because I played this mission for the 4th time today, Red Dead Redemption 2, where it's like, there's your deal, Dutch. Like that thing when they shoot Hosea. That's what I anticipated with this.
Okay.
But
see,
it didn't go that way. And instead, they all got away.
I was anticipating Lawson goes and shows up for the trade. Instead of Lawson actually getting traded for his son, I was anticipating the troopers showing up and destroying Two Boots.
Oh, I do think Two Boots probably going to die too.
That's what I was waiting for. I was waiting for like Lawson to start walking towards Two Boots, his son to walk away, and then his trooper shows up from behind them through the door and blasts Two Boots in the back and takes him out, and then the rest of them flee. Is what I was waiting for. I do as well think Two Boots is not going to make it through the end of the season. I'm anticipating him getting taken out.
Yeah.
Either that or if Lawson... Either Two Boots gets taken out, or Lawson gets taken out and Two Boots goes with his son, or his son gets taken out and Two Boots goes with Lawson. I kind of have like... I do have like these 3 different kind of scenarios unfolding in my mind. And I feel like at least one of the 3 of them, between Lawson, his son, and Two Boots, has to get taken out at some point before the end of the season.
Yeah.
I would be very surprised if all 3 of them
for sure given.
I think so as well. But I do wonder, though, how will Daki get taken out? Is he going to get taken out fighting one of the Inquisitors? Is Maul going to betray and take him out? Is he going to do like a Depa Balaba Last Stand so his apprentice can get away? Canon's master.
Caleb
Canon, yeah. His
yes,
master.
yeah.
I wonder if there's going to be like a last stand where he, holds off the troopers while the rest of them escape. I'm very curious to see how he goes, but I feel like he has to go at this point. It's been foreshadowed too much for him.
Maybe they're running from the Empire, and then he falls over and he lands on his shell and he can't flip back over, and then he just dies.
He lands upside down on the horn and just spins like a top and can't correct himself.
Yeah. Yeah.
With that too, though, just kind of talking about people that we don't really anticipate making it, or those that might not. I wonder if we'll see Merrick's downfall here, to explain why he's all
Yeah.
like Night Sister gas in the Ahsoka show.
I do think that he's gonna die. I think that Maul will defeat him. But now with the injury, I'm not sure. I don't know how this is gonna end up going, but I do think Merrick dies, whether in this show, these next couple episodes, because yeah, somehow he is dead and resurrected by
Night
witch
Sister
magic, whatever
yeah.
it was. Yeah. So somehow that happens.
Yeah.
There's also the weirdness with the other Inquisitor, 11th brother, or the Crow, as plenty are calling him, which, whatever. When she very quickly disposes of him, his mask, like, deflates.
Yeah.
It's like she beheads him, and then it's just like, so it's almost like, what is he? And so I wonder, and also with the glowing eyes, it really throws me on what kind of what he even is.
I'm not sure about that either, because it doesn't make sense in my mind for him to be brought back through, like, say, Night Sister magic. Like Merrick, it makes sense. At some point he gets brought back because, he's trying to help Morgan Elsbeth, who is connected to the Night Sister. So that makes sense to me completely, perfectly.
Right. And I don't think that this one is like brought back via Night Sister stuff, but I'm curious what his whole thing is.
But yeah, I don't think we've seen anything else in Star Wars that would explain why he deflates like that.
Yeah.
Unless
it was literally just his mask just deflating.
Could be.
And his head was still intact, which it didn't seem to be. That was the implication.
Right.
But.
Oh, excuse me. But with that too, I've been seeing some stuff, especially since these 2 episodes came out yesterday, with the comparisons of like Maul versus the Inquisitors to Ahsoka versus the Inquisitors, right? Because Maul and Ahsoka, based off of this, have now fought the same 2 Inquisitors, right? And Ahsoka defeats both of them quite easily in the 2 separate instances where we see her fight them. Whereas Maul, he fought Merrick in a previous episode and did pretty good. Like he held him back and didn't really let him get too many advantages and stuff. But then here, and again, Maul is partially handicapped at this point because of his leg.
Get the nickels ready.
I got a silver coin ready for him. It's okay.
Fun callback if anybody's been
Maul
listening.
deserves more than nickel. He gets silver.
Fair enough. Anyway, go on.
But no, I've just seen a lot of people doing kind of this compare and contrast between Maul and Ahsoka because of, how they've fared against these 2 Inquisitors. And one thing that I found really interesting that I saw someone bring up is, because a lot of people have been like, oh, well, Ahsoka's obviously just way better than Maul because she dispatches these 2 with such ease, and he kind of struggles against them, right? But one person did bring up an interesting point, and that is the fighting style of Ahsoka and the fighting style of Maul. And they're very different approaches, but then also the fighting style of Inquisitors as a whole. And I just found it really interesting because he talks about Maul's fighting style is very much, I'm going to get up in your face, I'm going to throw you off, and I'm just going to take control through the chaos that you are dealing with. Right? Maul is a very aggressive fighter. The Inquisitors, as well, are very aggressive fighters. And they rely on the chaos of battle with their spinning blades and, their aggressive fighting style. And so it's like when you have 2 of those go up against each other, you're not going to have this dominant victory of one side. They're both going to struggle some. And we see that evident within this show thus far. And who are the Inquisitors trained by? Darth Vader, a.k.a. Anakin Skywalker. Who is Ahsoka trained by? Anakin Skywalker. She knows how Anakin fights. She was trained by Anakin. Ahsoka very much pulls I'm going to sit back and defend. I'll give some attacks, and I'm going to wait for the opening. I'm going to buy my time, and then I will strike. And so it's like when you have someone who fights like that against someone who is chaotic and aggressive and leaves openings just based off their fighting style, it makes complete sense that Ahsoka does not struggle against Inquisitors, whereas Maul does. Because the fighting styles are just so different. Like, her fighting style is basically set up to fight Inquisitors and take them out. Whereas Maul and the Inquisitors have just such a similar fighting style that they're, as I said, they're both just going to struggle against one another. Just because one's trying to add chaos, the other's trying to add chaos, so it's just a whole mess of chaos. And so I just found it really interesting the way he kind of broke it down and talked about it. And with that, it explains perfectly, in spoiler for anybody that hasn't seen Season 7 of Clone Wars, it explains perfectly why Ahsoka beats Maul in the Clone Wars. Because she still has that fighting style against his chaotic fighting style. It makes sense that she wins. And that's not saying that Maul's not a great duelist or a lightsaber user by any means. Like, he is very good. But he's fighting against either people that use the same style, or he's fighting against someone that has the counter to his style, and that's why we see him struggle so much in a lot of the fights that we see. But yeah, like I said, I found that really interesting, and I wanted to kind of bring that up and talk about that with this episode, because we see a lot of, Maul struggling against Inquisitors and Inquisitors struggling against Maul. And I think that's a very good explanation to why that struggle to dominate one of them over the other is there.
Yeah. I have a kind of question that we can maybe close with.
Okay.
Which I think... Go ahead.
I was just saying, I don't really think I have too much more to comment on. So I'm just kind of like replaying the events of the episode in my mind just to make sure I'm not missing anything.
I keep freaking yawning.
I guess the one last thing I would bring up before your kind of closing question. And I guess it's a question for you of my own. And to kind of start off, we do see those two Zabrak brothers that are following Maul. We see one of them die.
Yep. Right.
Saving Maul. Like, he distracts him so Maul can kind of get set up to not die. Do you think that Zabrak's death is going to impact Maul in a big way? And then also, do you think we will see maybe some sort of closer connection to the surviving one in Maul? Or do you think that surviving one will leave? Where do you think kind of that stuff sits with
I could kind of see it going either way. Because I think Maul probably is grateful for the one. But then looking at the relationship with the living one, I could see it either going, like I said, either way. Either the surviving one is like, he needlessly died for you, I'm now against you, goodbye. Or I can see the similarities between that and Maul's experience with Savage and like kind of his own brother dying and like things where, maybe they are a little more like cool with one another and continue on. I don't know which way they would probably take, but I could see either one with that. I mean, they've already got the trend of some of his crew falling apart, but also we've got Crimson Dawn now mentioned, and so it's kind of like his crew is likely expanding. So I don't know.
My big wonder with it is, how is Maul going to react with it once he's had a chance to actually like sit down and process the events, that have unfolded? Because both these episodes have just been this long string of events just unplaying one right after the other. Like, no one's really had time to sit down and process what they're dealing with, what they've gone through, what's happened.
Yeah.
And I do wonder if we'll see some sort of other mental break within Maul as it reminds him of Savage and losing Savage, or what. I feel like there has to be some, like, Maul has to react to this in some way, because otherwise, like, there's no way that, like, Dave Filoni put in 2 Zabrak brothers on Maul's crew, killed one of them off, and then just moved on. Like it's too intentional to have 2 Zabraks and to have them brothers, and then to have one of them die sacrificing himself for Maul. Like, that's too deliberate of actions, I feel like, for them to do with this show, to not have it impact Maul in some way. And so I wonder how he will react to it, what sort of fallout we will see because of it.
Yeah. Yeah. So my question is, after everything that we saw, Maul broken, hunted, and questioning himself, are we watching the turbulent downward kind of spiral, or the more so slow creeping spiral downfall of a Sith, or the rise of something even more dangerous? Where I come at from it, like where I'm coming at it from, is when we meet him in Rebels again, he's kind of at a more of a mid to lower point.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas right now, he's not quite there. He's kind of mid-level, I feel like. Solo, he's pretty high up there.
Right.
And then he comes back down. So, I mean, like, because we have multiple seasons of this, do you think that we have on the brink of, like, another upward thing? Or maybe a down and then back up? Like, where are we at in his journey, do you think? Or what are we witnessing?
That's a good question. Because if we look at Maul's journey from introduction in Phantom Menace to conclusion, he's obviously at a high in Phantom Menace and has his massive fall, right? And in Clone Wars, we see him at the bottom, and then he comes back up, and we see him fall yet again in Clone Wars. And then arguably we see him come back up again because, he falls when Savage dies, and then he's kind of back up again when he's running Mandalore.
Yeah, true.
And then we see him fall again.
I mean, overall, his character is just this kind of tragic roller coaster of high and low.
And so if this was a 1-season show, I would say we're seeing him on the up. But
and that's where my primary question comes in.
Because there's more seasons, I feel like we're still seeing him on the downward slope. Because if he was on his way up, I feel like we would not have seen Mandalorians deserting and trying to leave. If he was on the upward slope, I don't think we would see so many of his followers questioning him. And so I think we're still in the downward slope. And I anticipate seeing a rise again in future seasons. But I'm kind of thinking we'll see more of his followers die. More people questioning him and what his motives are. And even to maybe a point where his most devout follower right now, Rook, leaves. Or tries to kill him and gets taken out by him. I feel like we'll see that. And I was thinking about this too. Because we don't have a confirmation of who the armorer is in The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
But she has the horns on her helmet. like kind of hinting back to Maul. I wonder if Rook is the armorer.
Hmm. Now there's a Star Wars theory. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm
who knows?
wondering.
Obviously, I mean, I'm not gonna like jump on some like conspiracy theory of Star
Right.
Wars where it's like, oh, did you, freaking I can't even think of a good one right now. There's some real stupid ones. What's I
Well,
heard one regarding this lately. What was it?
while you think about that,
Oh, it was Devin being basically canonized Darth Talon.
oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm like, what?
Yeah. Um, I will say whether or not Rook is the armor from Mandalorian, there's not a lot of evidence for it or against it right now, right? Because we're still kind of learning about her character and like who she is.
Mm-hmm.
The only reason I feel like that potentially could be a possibility is number one, because she's following Maul and she's shown her loyalty to him, right? Number two, she's got a group of Mandalorians following her, following Maul. And so, like, those are just kind of like the two. Those are just the 2 points right now. Like, she's in a leadership position and she's loyal to Maul and she has some followers. And so it's like that could explain why they were not on Mandalore during the night. What's it called? The night of a million tears or whatever it is, where the Empire bombs Mandalore.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That could explain why they're not on Mandalore when that happens. You know, and then Maul gets taken out in Rebels and they go to the moon of Concordia. Or, you know, maybe they don't go back to Concordia, but I think the armorer says they were on Concordia when the bombing happened. You know, so like they go back to the moon of Concordia and they hang out there while the bombing happens, and that's how they survive the events of the Night of a Million Tears. And, you know, they're like, oh, well, our leader Maul is dead. We're going to adopt the old ways because we were good back then and we were kicked butt. You know, and like, it's a pretty out there theory. Again, not a whole lot of evidence for it. Not really any evidence against it quite yet either. But I am curious if that may be the case. I think it'd be very interesting. I think it'd be very interesting.
Yeah, it would be. I got nothing else. Regarding, I'm kind of in the same boat where I don't know. Because it's multi-season, I feel like that's the hang up for me. Because we know key points.
Mm-hmm.
We know key points. There's some term for it in Doctor Who I can't think of, but it's like an event that is fixed in time. We have these.
We have like focal points, like set points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But where we're at, if it's just like a straight shot up to where we see him in Solo, or if there's going to be a little bit of a dip and then back up, is where I'm unsure. But
well, and where does Solo take place in the timeline? Obviously between 3 and 4, but like where in there in say conjunction to the Bad Batch and Rebels and you know this show and you know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm not 100% sure where Solo is in that, because like Maul Shadow Lords is a year after Revenge of the Sith.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's where this show takes place. And so it's like if Maul Shadow Lord is, or not Maul Shadow Lord, if Solo is 15 years before the Battle of Yavin, you know, it's like, well, that's a lot of time for him to get to leading Crimson Dawn. But if it's like, you know, 3 years after Revenge of the Sith, it's like, that's not a whole lot of time for him to get to the top. What do you got?
Solo, a Star Wars story, takes place approximately 10 to 13 years before A New Hope.
Okay. So anywhere from 7 to 10 years.
Until this point?
From Revenge of the Sith. So 6 to 9 years from this.
from where we're at right now, in
Yes.
6 to 9 years, we would be at Solo.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that's a lot of time.
Yeah, that's a lot of time for stuff to unfold and for him to either hit bottom again and come back up, or maybe it's just a long ride to the top and, he just has to take his time getting there. We don't know.
Yeah.
But with Maul's character, though, I feel like especially in Clone Wars, we see him get to the top very quickly and then fall very quickly. Like in Clone Wars, Maul goes from being a complete wreck who cannot utter a complete sentence to save his life to ruling a crime syndicate and being in charge of Mandalore, to then quickly and utterly fall drastically when Sidious shows up, to somehow being in charge of Mandalore again when Ahsoka arrives with the 501st. It's like Maul rises and falls very quickly. I feel like we never really see him on this gradual slope down or gradual slope up. I feel like it's a very quick shot up or a very quick shot down. The gap between those could be fairly extensive, but it's a very fast up, and maybe he's there for a while, and then a very fast down, or it's like a freaking mountain peak, just straight up, 90 degrees straight down again. So I could even see if they do a season 3, a season 4, type of deal. I could see comes up a little bit, crashes back down again, comes up a little further, crashes down again, trying to work his way to leading the Crimson Dawn before we get to Solo. There's just so much potential with the character and to expand on him and whatnot.
Yeah. Well, I have yawned like 7 times in the last 30 seconds, so I think we should be done. Has your high and low changed?
I was about to ask. My high, I feel like, is still the same. Truthfully, I still haven't even thought of a low. I'm just struggling to think of one distinct point in these 2 episodes where it was like, or even just like, that was pretty cool, but not as cool as the rest of it. Like, I struggle to find a point like that in these 2 episodes.
Yeah. I think my high stays the same. My low, I mean, it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't really a low in the beginning anyway. It was just a question. And even that's kind of subsided. I've been like, yeah, no, okay, I'm more okay with it. My for sure low, I thought of it, is what I was actually physically upset about during the episode. When Lawson is like, I'm going to trade myself. I'm going to go in there. And then Two Boots comes out with his son. It was in the scene where you said you were waiting for Two Boots to get shot in the back. And then he's like, oh, Riley, you are here. And then they hug in the street for 15 consecutive seconds. Dude, they were in the open for so long. I'm like, will you morons get moving? Like, what is wrong with you? And
oh, God. No, I thought of my low.
Perfect.
And I think it's kind of a funny low because you have commented multiple times on really liking the backdrop of different scenes in this show and kind of the painting style of it. There was one backdrop, and I believe it was with Lawson. He was standing there talking, and it was supposed to be behind him were like some buildings with like a light on up here and maybe a light on over there. And it was to me, it just looked like a blotch of yellow and a blotch of yellow and a bunch of gray, and it didn't even have a very resemblance of buildings to me. And I was like, "What?"
It just looked like too much of a watercolor.
It just looked like blobs of gray and then a blob of yellow here and a blob of yellow there.
Oh,
and it's like every other backdrop that had that kind of painting style to it, I was like, that looks pretty good. That looks pretty solid. It fits. But this one was just like, maybe the person in charge of that just had an off day when they did that scene. I don't know what it was, but no, I just remember that. I remember sitting there watching the episode, and I was like, man, that just does not look good for a backdrop right there. in that one scene. The
Oh,
backdrop
okay.
just didn't have it like the rest of the show does.
Yeah. I didn't pick up on that. Interesting.
I'll have to try and find the scene again. If I find it, I'll send you a picture.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, that's my low. That one lapse in backdrop for the episode.
Quality. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well,
We got there. It took all episode of talking, but we got there.
yeah, there you go. That's the highlight of this episode is you finding your low point. All right. Well, thanks for if you're still with us, thank you for listening. Be sure to leave us a review on Apple if you're on Apple, or a comment on Spotify. Leave us a rating, all that stuff, all that positive stuff that you could do to let us know what you think of our podcast. If you're on
None of the
YouTube,
negative
comment.
stuff. No negative stuff. All positive. Let us feel good about ourselves.
Yeah. Or just if any of it is negative, just preface it by saying this is only to Evan.
Oh.
Yeah.
Furthermore, though, join us next week when we cover the last
When we
two
finish
episodes
off
of
this.
season 1. We get that finale for Maul Shadow Lords.
We do.
I'm really excited to see where it goes.
Yep. And if you're interested in any Lord of the Rings or other Star Wars content, every Monday, there's a chance on Mondays. Some Mondays we upload other content. Same style, just different stuff we're talking about. So
Yeah.
join us there. Bye.
Deuces.